Thokozani bogogo nabomkhulu. It's Wednesday. Gogo Lerato. I'm Gogo Kandalembube. It's been so long since I've been on social media. The last you guys heard from me, Nikile Kumpumalanga, and it was just amazing. But let me not waste any more time. I think Ararapeling. Le se di bonkgono bo ntatemoholo ba makubetse ba mjali ba bogatso ba go tloa ke a le bitsa manyelo e go tlontse ne tsa lefatshe ke a le bitsa lona bonkgono bo ntatemoholo ba makubetse ba mjali ba bogatso ba go tloa be lena le tla bua manyelo e a matla be lena le tla bua bonkgono bo ntatemoholo re teleng pele lona kaofela manyelo e go tlontse ne tsa lefatshe molaetsa one o tlo fihlele bana ba lona Thokozani Qamaku Makhosi le Sedeganya. Thokozani, today I'm paddling a bit. I've been leaning towards more Seporofeto a lot lately. And I couldn't even decide on today's topic until like 1 minute ago. So let's read the Bible. Amen. Mahlo aka a porosela dikeledi. Di porosela sa metsi a nokana ka baka la ho timetswa ha setjhaba sa Yesu. Mahlo aka a tla keleketla dikeledi. Dikeleketle motjhaotjhele. Di sa kgaotse. Dikeleketle jwalo. Mahlo a sa phomole. Amen. Ba kileng ba phela ka dimenyemenye. Ba bolawa ke tlala hara diterata ba neng ba apara tse mabokoboko kajeno ba baqame dithuthubolong. Amen. Thokozani bogogo nabomkhulu, these are very relevant scriptures. Seporofeto le bongaka together. Why? I'm not properly prepared today, and I'm going to try not to do the I'm going to get right to it. You know, I actually wanted to speak about Seporofeto le bongaka, and I hope to manage to get time today to speak about those who've gone and twasad ubungoma, and they realized that either A, they were ephehlweni wrong, or it was Labo did not want them ukuthi bayotwasa ubungoma. I hope to speak about that and just shed some light as to how to transform or to convert that type of gift, right, into the right type of gift. I feel this is something that a lot of us are struggling with. But arasimuleka kabungaka, all right, Seporofeto. Why badimu can they seem not to decide? You know, umgoma na or umprofeta na. You know, and it's kind of sad because that's how we end up wrong, right? That's how we end up at the wrong places. First things first that I want to say, if you've got a combination gift, yes, Seporofeto, meaning is Tunya Sako is your main guide. Tunya is the main person who is functioning moena. If you've got that main guide, you may not have intwaso. Okay? I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this one. But no, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. In actual fact, we believe that the gifts, they happen concurrently, or we try to concurrently, but actually not. What really happens is that you're actually muporofeta, or you're actually ngaka, right? However, there has been issues that are not aligned. So that's what brings about the other element of your gift. I want to just make it a bit more relevant into this teaching here today, because Seporofeto le bongaka together is so broad. Where should I start? Okay, I think let's start here. Nyesintu awona le badimo ba setso, typically mundau ke ene o parolwang ko metsing, or rather mundau huye ophakamiswa emanzini, right? Most of the time, if you are just umgoma, or rather in the past, people would have umdawe bamparole emanzini. if you were umgoma. I believe back then there was no such thing as ipetlo for prophets. There was no such thing, right? So what used to happen to those people? What used to happen to people who had prophetic spirits at the time? And I'm going to give my analogy as to what happened. And today maybe we'll speak about whether it's still relevant or applicable. My belief is that previously abantu that we know ukuthi they went bayothwasa ngaphansi emanzini, people bane bathwasa kometsini, actually were people who had more isthunywa, or people were more prophetic. But because back then batho ba lefetlo or iphetlo was not sort of relevant to them, or was not hadn't evolved to a place where it could accommodate them, then those people would go bangene emanzini and bayothwasela emanzini, and then once they are done, the Atlosi sort of lets them out, and then who exchange you the pudi, normally the khomu, actually it would be khomu. Khomu is exchanged, and then that person is out. We still hear stories of people baba thwasitse ka motlas khametsi, and I think it's phenomenal, right? I personally would have loved to experience that, and I know a lot of you guys, let's have a meeting because of that. Because you guys have heard of stories, or Umnigas is going to take you and that, right? I know that there are still some people who have twasad more meeting, but I feel that they are such a minority, right? Because nowadays, Seporofeto, or rather, moya, more so through the prophetic churches, has become like summoning the spirits meeting and bringing them into a church building and bringing them into a particular place. So I personally don't see why it would still be relevant today. I know but again, on earth now, African spirituality has sort of adopted what we could call Kerekias Piri or even Israel, which I feel speaks a lot to underwater. So that is actually our first point of departure. That previously, bana ba monga metsi or batho ba ne ba thwasa ka mo tlase ga metsi purely so that they can avoid intwaso. And that is what informs what I'm saying, that I do not believe that those people ba ne ba kena ka mo tlase ga metsi were actually fed intwaso the way that we do emaphetlweni. So I feel that in many ways, if you've got a very prevalent sthunya or water spirit, it would not require you to have indwaso. It wouldn't. Another thing that I found very interesting, I remember a few years ago reading on the footprints, there was a lady who went and another thing that I found quite interesting, I remember asking Umnikazi, I'm going to one day show you guys a picture of Ibailam Lasemanzini. I remember asking Umnikazi one time when I went to the river that why is it that people that come don't actually have amabai abo? Why is it? Because I believe if it speaks to the type of gift that you've been given. Yet those people they got everything and they still walk around and whatever the cloths that we have been given as well. So what separates them? How can we really mark them? How can we really see them? Or rather, how can we know, or let's say a particular person who has certain signs? Unfortunately, because I wouldn't be able to tell you guys, right? However, the answer that Mnikazi told me was that the reason why Basena their own unique cloth is because Umnikazi, like Hallelujah, like the face of God, does not have a defined face. So that was the answer he gave me, that in actual fact, there is no person who could actually design Ipai that is for me. So I asked him, okay, so the snake cloth, does it not mean that it's a Nikazi? And he said, no, it's not. That is your snake. That is amadlozi enu. It's maybe a totem animal or a totem spirit that you connect with. It's not me. And I thought that was very, very, very interesting. Now, the people now still continue to sort of look like ordinary people like us, right? As to the depth of the gift and how far deep they can be able to see and things, I've only heard stories that they can see quite deep and they can see into future events. But it would make sense, because now if you've spent your whatever the period of time underwater, then your life, your soul should be fluid. So definitely, you should be able to have projections into the spirit world, reaching far in. Those people should definitely be seers more than anything. They should definitely be seers, and they should be people by they are like airbenders. They should be like waterbenders, right? Being able to heal and to heal people with probably tap water, or probably water from any source, right? So I guess that is the foundation of is prophecy in the ancestral or in the cultural way that we now do not quite know. Is it ubungoma or is it not? So clearly, when you look at abantu who went by yothwasa emanzini directly, bathwasiswa ngamadlozi abo again, all right, or rather umnikazi, that already tells you that there was already a certain breed of people that did not need to be impanding. That already tells you. We think that perhaps today, people abati they bathwasiswa ngamadlozi abo. We think that it's unique to today, but clearly not. Clearly not, because who is the gobela of that person who went ayotwasa emanzini? Clearly that person uthwasiswa umnikazi, maybe with the face of amadlozi akhe themselves. So they don't need impande, and they don't need whatever the drums or whatever. They have whatever that goes on there, and they do it there without the intervention of a living human being, right? So I believe those prophets or were the first of our self-twasas. All right. I will say that I believe a lot. I personally believe to self-twasa is possible. However, I had a very interesting question from Ugogo Mahlasela, my twasa. My twasa sister, so I can't really call her my twasa. And she said to me, Gogo, if you are a self-twasa, then what makes you think that I need to come to impande yako because you are a self-twasa? And I thought that was a very challenging question. And I thought it was also a very interesting question. Because it really changed the way that I saw ukutwasa. I believe that for the most part, I was a self-twasa. So it was a very interesting, challenging question from Utumizulu. But now, what informs you that you could go uyotwasis abanye abantu? And that was very interesting. And my simple answer, I suppose this is the answer that I've thought about, is that is there such thing as a self-initiate? Partially, yes. Partially, yes. However, no one person can really go through their journey of spirituality without getting some type of intervention or help from somebody, right? So in my case, this is how my self-twassing went. All right. I had my 2 minutes, 2 minutes, literally was 2 minutes. Didn't go anywhere. However, Idlozilami relied on what my Gobela taught me for that 2 minutes. And even though I had left Ephelweni, my ancestors insisted that I continued uhlehlizozi. I continued to practice imfihlo. I continued uthandazo phahla in the same routine that my Gobela actually had taught us. Right? My ancestors made sure that I continued with that. Even though they had instructed me to remove my beads, but they said to me, as you go on in this journey, you will continue like this. So I continued to walk barefoot. I continued to togozisa abantu on my knees and that. And I believe that what my ancestors did was that my Gobela became like the framework, right? She became like the framework for what I need to do. And from there, my ancestors said, okay, you continue. And in many ways, it's how Ugogo Mahlasela actually trusts us from me, because I give them the framework and I say, okay, this is the framework. This is how I want you to do this. This is how I want you to do that. However, I leave the majority of what the Dlozi wants to do with them, right? So although they don't actually come here, bazotwasa, and tell me what needs to happen, because I know now, over time, over lots of twasas, by the way, I've said with my first twasa came twasa 300, you know. So I've had a lot of twasas sort of building up through trial and error, you know, to this prototype, the type of twasa that I'm supposed to be having. And they've all come in stages over time. And then eventually now I got to where Dumizulu is supposed to be. So when Dumizulu says, I'm not dreaming, I know exactly what to do. When Dumizulu says, I saw 1, 2, 3, I know exactly what to do, right? But again, back to into your self-twasa, I don't really believe that it is possible without the intervention of people, right? So I think the majority of us tend to decide or not. Because, I mean, it's really in between. You can really do either or, right? At a later stage, I had Mewaka wa Moya wako Israeli. So she did some things for me. It was over a weekend. It was a bit of a rush job. But Mewaka wako Israeli now, she became now another building block onto what my first Kobela had done. And after this lady wako Israeli did what she did for me, I had to continue now. Israeli, learning, reading the Bible. I had to continue with that. So, you know, the biggest challenge that I'm seeing with people, Baba Renkidi self-twasas, is that they may feel that it's cheaper, and in actual fact, it's not. They may feel that it allows you to sort of follow your own intuition. Yes, it does. But if you're going to be a self-twasa, then it means that you do not need to be dialing up everybody and asking for dream interpretations. The price that you pay as a self-twasa, the price that I paid as a self-twasa was that I was not allowed. I was not allowed to just go and consult anyway, right? I believe in the 3 years, I managed to consult twice or 3 times. There were a few people that I tried to bother, right? To here and there, or you know, whatever, I'm worried, blah, blah, blah. How's this going to work out? And in general, those people would sort of push me away, and then that was that. B, if you are going to be a self-twasa, you go onto spiritual groups not to acquire information, because now twasa is sort of like it's like having sex. No amount of reading can prepare you for that. So if you're going to become a self-twasa, then you go onto spiritual groups and you learn to interpret dreams. You don't actually say, you know, when somebody says, I dreamt of a yellow candle flickering, what does it mean? You don't say, me too. You don't say, what does that mean for me too? If you want to be a self-initiate, then it means that you must be willing to openly apply yourself. So what that means is that now you would be able now, in those groups, give your 2 cents worth. Look, if as a nete, muto ano shapa about zibi, you know? It also means that now you must have your head on the ground. So if you're going to be a self-twasa, you cannot afford a family member or some matlin. You cannot even afford a family member that you have dreamt is a witch and you assume is a witch, because you don't have a gobela, you don't have somebody to interpret your dreams, and you don't know what you're being shown. So the building blocks to being a self-twasa are very difficult, and they require discipline. You should be willing every single day. You should be willing to talk to yourself and every single day. You should be willing that when you see something happening to you at work, you will pray about it when you get home. You should be willing, matwasa, as self-twasas, you don't leave your house, right? So that is self-twasaring today. And I believe that it is achievable because here I am. I did it. I did it. With the intervention, obviously, of people, it would generally be people by what I would see, for whatever. People would generally do things for me and then right? But the reason why people would do things for me like that was because in my dreams, my living grandmother, Onekimo Laura, she would always be the person who comes up. So every time I needed something, every time I would see a cloth, there were certain times that I would go home and specifically kereke mapai and then give them to my grandmother and say, "Kopa wa rapelle wa phatlele the way that you know how." Right? So I had to rely on somebody who does not believe in Badimu. I had to rely on somebody who was not necessarily going to validate me. So in many ways, it is like self-tossing because you're going into this water, right? And how I suppose, they're not going to give you your life plan now. Okay, this is your life plan. Zamaya, how. Those people also now, they rely on their intuition from umnikas. There's a lady that I spoke to that she said that she went committee, right? And she says that whenever umnikazi is in the room, she starts to hear like sounds of a snake moving. So I wanted to ask, what is it, a rattlesnake or what? But she was like, no, listen, I just know that sound. So that's how she works. She hears that sound before she does her work. All right. So why Seporofeto and Bongaka? I'm gonna give you guys my 2 cents worth. Why Seporofeta but Bongaka? To have ubungoma hangata is mainly when you have been given a prophetic gift. So a prophetic gift would be when you've got istunya is strong. So this would be the gift that you have been given. This is the gift that you were born with. You're probably born to be a prophet. But idlozi lakho gives you ubungoma. Why? Because idlozi lobungoma sidimu sesebereka mbongaka basetso is the only one that teaches you about history. Seporofeto, they don't really teach you history of your family, of your bloodline. They don't. They teach you how to function progressively in this world. They teach you how to heal other people. They teach you your art. They teach you the art that you do, which is the healing part. And Seporofeto, they rely on your emotional well-being. So Seporofeto, they heal you emotionally, your intuition, and then they pour that intuition out into other people, which is why people Seporofeto most likely should have abalozi, should have amanono, whether it's amanono that you've acquired by abortion or miscarriage or not. They should have those because those are situations that sort of altered Bongaka, right? Bongaka on its own, abomkhulu mainly are the ones that run Bongaka basetso, right? Bongaka does not allow pulao. So Bongaka is not accommodating of a woman who's had an abortion. Bongaka is not accommodating of that. Bongaka is not accommodating of banabama lome, or where now your parents haisi banyalane and ahonan tlaulo. Badimo baba berekang Bongaka basetso, they are let's call them God of the Old Testament. They are that God. To them, ahona gray areas. It's black and white. However, in exchange, badimo ba Bongaka, they teach you history because of the fact that they believe so much momulao. They will teach you mulao. They will teach you your family history, where you come from. They will teach you mang, because to them, it matters who is who. Hierarchy is very important. Is very important. That is why you look at Abangoma. Abangoma, they should have the biggest levels of humility. But Prophet I'm telling you. Prophet, I see them when they walk in, even for a reading. But Prophet don't even know how to heal. I just so offended that. The Prophet are the ones with the nails. So a prophetic gift is actually more progressive, right? A prophetic gift is a gift that when they say lerato ki ole ka mo ga rona re ne re le dingaka. However, because nna ke le mamage papa gage ngwana ke ha a nyala mmage, then I will give her a gift ya gore a bue le nna ke kgone go mo fa bongaka ba ka mo gae but ko metsing ke tshantse ke mo fe bone through batho ba go ga bo mama gage. Why? Because sentle I'm her grandmother, but sentle I'm not mosidimo. I don't have a right to her, so she'd rather go ko metsing mundao kwa everybody. Ko metsing mnikazi ke hallelujah, so hana lebitso, so he can take on any face and o kgona go buela any other person, any other ancestry that could come up, right? Whereas kabungoma, when lerato twasat ubungoma, and I'll tell you guys personally, when I twasat ubungoma, I think people try to tell me, hey, boamo, hey, diaboyamo, and really diaboy. Ebungomeni, if you are married, if uli musadi walapa, you respect your in-laws. If you are a daughter, you respect your elders. Kobongomeng, you get taught mulao in a submissive way. You've got to be completely submissive. You've got to be completely humble. Kobongomeng is not a place where your opinion counts. Badimu baba hurutang setsu, they teach you mulao, right? They need to do that because they know Ori, you're going to have the power of healing and of witchcraft in your hands. So I believe that is why Badimu Basetso, they don't necessarily really want to accommodate us Baba Nalindi karmic dates, and they don't want to accommodate us Baba Nalindi emotional baggages, and they don't want to accommodate us Baba Nalindi grudges and past pains, because they know because your view of life is misconstrued. Abanguni, or rather Badimu Basetso, they allow you, Lerato, and the Gogo, the entity that heals, they allow you guys to separate. They don't necessarily need your emotional well-being to be able to function their work. In actual fact, what they want from you is that that's it. Or what? That's your problem. The father who was never in your life, that's your problem, right? Badimu Basetso, and for those who say, kinale Badimu Basetso and kinale Badimu Seporofeto, whenever Badimu Basetso, you guys must be completely willing to be humble on other levels. On other levels. Sidimu Seo does not give you anything in exchange for crying. That's why Sidimu Sasetso, they don't have time for weeping. That's why by some Kuba. Those are warriors, and those are warrior spirits. So Kobongoming, it's like uyako koming simple. Uyako libulong. More, it's a journey that you will take, which will be a journey in Lokore. It's going to channel you in a particular way. Right? And Kobongake, utwanete utisiwe, opatiwe, they must bahutise. Opatiwe limo forum. You're supposed to. You're supposed to. Because you are not going to sit there ulele wena gore no na it's kitaba mati in Kobongoming, it's always do or die. It's always do or die. But they need you to have that resilience Badimu bating, because they are going to teach you the history ya gore batho ba go galona ba tswa kae. And often than not, the history ya gore o tswa kae is a very painful one. It's a history where you'll have to deal with ancestors that have been raped, ancestors that have been murdered, ancestors that have robbed one another, ancestors that have banished and killed one another. They need you to be able to look into your past with the eye of compassion and with almost the eye of indifference. Kobongoming, good and evil, they have got a place. They are for a reason. Kobongoming, there is no such thing as what would Jesus do? There's no such thing as that. Kobongoming, if hona lentwa go lwaniwa motho a go latela ka ditlhare, Mula wa bongaka is that it's an eye for an eye. So most of us, they give us bongaka bo, mainly for the history part and mainly to build up courage, right? Kobongomeng as well, badimu babongaka. They believe a lot in teaching us not to love the things of this world. Not to love the things of this world. Sidimu se se bereka bongaka ba setso will never ba fetchelete. Never. Abanana. They will give you wisdom. They will give you enlightenment. They will show you the black and the white until eventually you start to see that everything is the same. They will show you remedies. They will show you how this is how you do it. And then, but they're going to show you it's cause and effect. It's okay, right? But you must be able to have to expect a comeback from that person, because whether that comeback is from that person or from karma itself, mundawa that other person, you must be expecting it. So I believe that is why Badimu Barifa that. I believe also Badimu Basitu, they give us ubungoma because they realize that most prophets are struggling with an identity crisis. So back to Indaba Yomsamo, what Badimu do is now now if only one malume, they give you the opportunity, you go back to malume ole and you give everybody in the hierarchy or protocol, now you're going to observe it. Whereas some people I know, abanali Seporofeto, look, you can go kerekeng, we look in a kerek. It's okay. You know, it's okay. On its own. Moya wako kerekeng is regardless of where you come from, as long as you're willing to pray and you're willing to obey the name of an ascended master or Jesus, urapele and do what linyilwela kereke requires from you, then you'll be able to according to the viewpoint of linyilwele. Right? So this is not a warning. This is an advice to those who are feeling bungaka, let's profit. Bungaka, let's profit. When they come together, they are like yin and yang. And I see this mistake a lot. Most prophets, they end up bakene mo mafitlo abungaka. Bajilento also being at the wrong place. Why? The reason why mo profeta affiliate akene mo plekeng e wrong is because ba profeta they try to apply ubungoma rules to his prophet, which is a problem. Okay? What are these rules? Well, you can get them ujeli pudlu, ukite katri, uhlele madlos. And it's fine. Patla once in a while, ukito bini. Done. Seporofeto, it is the complete inverse. Seporofeto actually, by definition, doesn't even really require a sacrifice. If ulatela Seporofeto sa bo saint or Seporofeto sa setswe, Seporofeto is actually bungaka applied using New Testament rules. So in the New Testament, Jesus says that he's the ultimate sacrifice. So Seporofeto actually does not really require a blood sacrifice from you. So that is the first mistake that I see a lot of prophets make. That we start to now, why? Stunya ugas tlhabela nku ba gaetso. Ugas tlhabela dikgogo, ka tlhaba le lepoi a rata. You can even tlhabe an ostrich. Stunya will not survive on a blood sacrifice alone. Stunya will not even survive on iladi even. Stunya only survives on your prayers, everyday prayers. Everyday prayers. Stunya only survives on that. Or rather, your Bible. Stunya is actually the fire version of ubungoma. And if you go to a fire church, wababona. Batwale babina bajuluki. Sthunya requires that from you. You can never uphakamise sthunya where you are a spectator and you've got igobela. That is why Seporofeto akuna gobela actually. There's no such thing. Go Prophetic akuna gobela. Gobela ke Modimo. Or gobela ke Jesu. Or gobela ke Mongametsi. Or gobela is your ancestor. Right? And letting your ancestor Khanzi will never really give you a dlozi name. Because things. But also let's say it requires prayers, it requires khupatla even without impep. Khanzi badibo ba Seporofeto, they are not keen on impep. They're not keen on that. Versus ubungoma. Kobungake basetso, that's where now badibo babungaka basetso most of the time kibomkhulu batho ba sikhwama. So bona awetseditse bojwala o tlhabile phologolo whatever, wentse nama wentse mqombothi, happy. Then wa kopa ntho e kopang o kopa bo rakgolo ba gago bo ntate mogolo ba gago. Then you talk to them and you ask them, okay, ne ke kopa 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. I know that I've said that or rather I know that I'm going to sound biased, but in my experience, after ke thwasa gogo mamtshali and I went on to thwasa my prophetic spirit, I realized that sometimes ubungoma for a woman is very, very, very difficult. Because umdawo wakhona unomthetho and umdawo wa teng ha abatle, mkhulu wa teng ha abatle gore you must have njolo usanyalwa. So this was from my personal experience that I suppose maybe that's why pele dingaka tsa banna dingaka tsa setso ene ile banna, because really they are very, very, very difficult. It's difficult to run a gift like that. One, I balance it out. Because Prophetic, it's more bokoko. It's more abokoko who are there. If you're a woman, I think that even though you've been given an ancestral gift, try by all means to upagamise is tunya or is prophet in one way or another. You need abokoko to help you to balance the two out. Ka setso bongaka ba setso is very difficult. And uhlehla and that, but you look at also khohlehla, it's a tedious exercise, right? Also le go bereka batho, le go phatsa le go etsang bungoma really requires you, like I'm saying, you must have humility, and it requires you gore o khona dilo tse dingata o di mamelle. Bungoma sentle ke sephiri, sentle ke sephiri. And that is why I feel even kabungaka ba setso, you would not see if re ne re bereka badimo ba bongoma fela, we would not have a single traditional healer on social media. A gona ngaka ya ngoma on social media. Most of dingaka tsa bangoma, they are very private and they are very much to themselves. Abomkhulu, they don't really like to be out there. They are not very good with talking. They know how to heal because the individual, the twasa, the host, abomkhulu, they can function within the host, within the twasa, without the twasa's well-being really being taken care of. Gore bomkhulu basetso wa rumiwa mo lentle, yeah, ba go ruma mo le wa rumiwa abana nako ya gago gore now wena una le mathata or ha una a man. They don't have time for that. When you ask them, they will, but normally it's always better to ask abokoko. It's always better to ask basadi ba bone or their moms, because basadi ba bone batla ba chick. Why does batla ngwana a kry a man? When you ask them, bomkhulu, then they will say, okay, fine, but now we will bring you somebody to get married to. So today I'm fifth-feffing. I'm fifth-feffing. Okay, briefly. So what happens? And then we look to bungoma, and you head into us. Intwaso is a serious problem, guys. Intwaso is not for everyone. It's not for everyone. I hope to give a teaching on Intwaso. I've been saying I'll do it. but I will give a teaching on Indwaso. But let me give like a general overview of Indwaso. All right. From what I've seen with my husband, Umkulu has had his spiritual gift ever since I've known him. Isithunywa sikamkhulu besebenza like long before I even thought that I could be spiritual. Right. So my take on Indwaso is this. Dingaka tsa setso, abangoma, the proper abangoma, they will tell you. They've started on their dreams. Basantsane ba le banyane. Isithunywa sabo has been functional from when they were kids. From when they were kids. They may not have been doing, even if nebasantse mkhoka, right? Or basantse mkhuba. They have been seeing dilo tse di etsagalang. Their stunya has been functional over years. So let's call their stunya their prophetic spirit. Their prophetic spirit has been working over years. But even though right? And I get years, I'm not talking about 2 to 3 years, no. Mkulu's tunya was functional for, I think, from the time I met him. He used to speak Isindawo, but I just didn't know what it was Isindawo. I thought he was nuts, right? But when I asked him, he started to have dreams and to see things from when he was a child, around 10 years old. I've got previous videos on Baba Nalimbongoma and how they really behave, right? So by the time Mkulu now formally twasas at 50, Ndwaso is definitely in order. Why? That prophetic spirit, that stunya, that opening spirit has done its work. The modern gift, the modernization of his gift has done its work fully. When he went, Stunyasele was able now to move aside, right? Hence my husband speaks Sinzao. So the modernization of his gift had functioned completely and sort of run out, right? And like I'm saying, I've known him for 14 years and he's been having an active stunya. Nakono Prophet Abatumkulu ever since. So by the time he's 50, and that stunya moves now, the karma, bongaka basetso, that comes komorao. So in Mkulu's case, to have Indwaso, absolutely. And I remember when we went to go see his Gobela. I'll say she's my Gobela, but not really. Right? I remember when I asked her, about my spiritual gifts after she had femmed me. And I said, okay, but now, what type of gift do I have? I was being silly. And Magogo just said to me, your elders, but you are not yet matured to be able to have and I was like, but I've been twassing Isinguni all along. And she said, yes, that was like an introduction into Ubungoma. That was an introduction. But the reason why is because the modern lifestyle. You are not ready emotionally and you are not matured enough for you can go Wilojandwaso. I was like, okay. And she said to me, you're going to continue and you're going to use this gift until you are in your 50s. And then when you turn 50, then you're going to get sick for real. Because your mundao he's going to demand that he works through you. And then like your gogo mamchali was ngaka. So I could accept that, right? So in general, most of us, Rikena Molefetlong, aona li 3 months ulora. You don't even know what your dreams mean. Sethunya sa gago ha se so bereke. And the moment o fa motho o na leng sethunya se leng gore ha se so kgantsetso se so bulelwe ditsela, the moment o mo fa ntwaso o kwala sethunya sele, because sethunya sele se bereka on the biblical principles. And the biblical principle says ska ja madi. Modimo wa seporofeto ha batle madi. Right? So that's generally what I'm seeing with a lot of people and with the readings that I'm seeing lately. People that have gone to the wrong places, and they start to dream the demons, and they start to dream of things, family members, and that it's not anything else. No, this was supposed to be my chance right now. Right? This is supposed to be my time right now. So I'm not waiting. I'm not going to wait for you now. Or how I live my chance. Right? Only in his prophet, I believe it's only God's prophet that you find umlozi and amanono. Amakosi ating. Amakosi are like a bridge from Seporofeto to Bongaka, right? But manono, makosi, mlozi, all of these spirits are more universal. So still, they are still Stunya based. They are still components of Stunya. You are still working at a universal level. That is why ka bongaka ba khale bongaka ba setso ntwa gore gona no re bue nna ke na le mundao, we are only making it popular now ka rona Seporofeto gore no nna ke na le mundao ke na le eng ke na le eng pele ha o no le ngaka fela go sa bue gore na le mundao what mundao wa go ne itswela ipereka the way ipereka ka teng go bongakeng ba setso. Sentle bongaka ba setso is like a completion of your Seporofeto, Stunya, Manono, all of those energies have worked within you, and they've done their work, and they've helped you to prosper in life, because those are actually spirits that help you to work within the system, to work within the waking life. And then by the time you get to Intwaso, now you are going to be acquiring now the wisdom to be able to give to your future generations. Simple. Bongaka. That is why you find dingaka. I believe dingaka tse proper. Dingaka tse tona. But baba tona dingaka, because they have seen it all and they've got a clear understanding of what ubungoma is. What we are seeing today with people baba jang's ntwaso, annually 6 months, totally wrong. And you know, for the longest time I used to believe Ntwaso is Kiditsila. I'll actually be honest. For the longest time I used to believe that. But I realized that it's not Sila, it's levels of spirituality. And these levels, they can't come to you when you are immature. It cannot come to you until you are matured enough and until Istunya Sako is completely functional. That is why they require you to keep it in imfihlo. Imfihlo actually is the works of Istunya. It's actually the works of Istunya, right? It's one of the basic things. Even before Otajantwaso, you must have gone through imfihlo. You must have. To do basic things. All right. So in closing, quick. What happens? And then, well, you're dreaming of demons. The first thing that you do, we'll call that Lozi we'll call that Lozi an unrehabilitated Lozi. All right. We'll call that Lozi that. The first thing that you must do. What is the first thing that you must do? Okay, you must cleanse, definitely. You must cleanse. If you realize you're at the wrong place and you're doing what your Lozi didn't want, you must cleanse. You must avoid going to the next level. You must avoid Kujali Putu again. You must avoid anything that's got to do no muti. You must actually be using the remedies that's a part of it to re-cleanse yourself. And then most of the time, what you would do is then sort of go towards Seporofeto. I mean, I've heard there was a gogo who told me And I said to her, it's because of the clarity to think you were not supposed to have the clarity, right? So you would need now to start looking at Seporofeto and looking at mabai aling plain like this. Your white, your blue, your yellows, that's a direction that you need to take, right? But I would say start to go a white and sort of start afresh. Because now, if utwasite the right lozi the wrong way, it doesn't matter and how many ceremonies did you have, right? If utwasite sidimo right the wrong way, you've just frustrated and complicated your msamo. So another good, easy, quick way to adjust sidimu from ubungoma or from umguni to Seporofeto would be kereke ya sephiri. It's the only way to do it. It's actually the only easiest way to do it. It's the only easiest way to do it. Because what kereke ya sephiri does is that it aligns nomguni. Remember, kereke ya sephiri functions mainly ngamandawe, right? So you could summon umdawe, any type of umdawe. And with every level in that church, there is a specific type of umdawe who comes in and helps you, right? So kereke ya sephiri actually allows badimu, bahago, that are your blood relatives, but it also allows badimu that are not exactly your blood relatives. And it also allows sidimusa, the wrong dlozi that you twasat now to convert it into church. Because what that dlozi starts to do, what they start to do is now you give them a certain type of garment, and as you go up, then with each garment and with the changing of the garments, then becomes more and more and more and more like what it should be. The reason why this is apparent is that kereke ya sephiri actually lifts you, gives you your spiritual gifts in ascension. So as you go in every order, every level, right? Your spiritual gifts, your stunya starts to have layers. They're actually adding layers and layers of Seporofeto, stunya, in. So it is actually like ipehlo. They're adding all of amandawe lawa individually onto you. Until you get to a certain level, there's a particular level there, right? That is like the peak of your spirituality. And then from that level, you do get higher levels. But those higher levels now, they speak to amandawe now that are directly linked to your spiritual gift. And directly linked to badimu, bakukhenu, right? And those now, they start to now work from Lozi state, from Manono state, from Ndao state, and all of that. And that's how you progress. The only way to transform a gift, yabungoma, wrong, is go kereke ya sephiri. It's the only way. It's the only way. We could try to do it through Seporofeto. We would probably need to do that, right? But what kereke ya sephiri does is that it starts to mirror ipehlo, right? There are basic concepts there that, well, we cannot really teach about, that are mirrored through ipehlo. So it starts to mirror that. But what it also does is it starts to mirror Seporofeto as well. So that's the only way kereke becomes like a midpoint where both manyelwe now can start to function, and both badimu can start to function as they truly should. So, so that is actually the reason why I was teaching a bit about Israel, right? Israel is an important merger of ancestral and prophetic spirits. It is an important merger of maternal and paternal spirits. It is an important merger of a lot of things that have happened in your life. Kereke ya sephiri, even though you may have had sisila sa in kereke ya sephiri, even if you've got a spiritual gift, it is so easy for you to be able to accept that calling and be able to open it up after going there. It is very, very, very important, right? For reasons that I've explained in previous videos, that it sums up the energies, the elements of Manyelwe Amangaka. So that means now the remedy, or rather your gift, becomes cooked, and it becomes sort of like a spherical. It becomes revolving. It becomes like a revolving gift, right? And you don't get to stand still. Kereke ya sephiri is also the best way to bula a gift. It's the best way. So I think I've said too much today. I'm fifing. Next week, I'll do like a teaching on. Maybe I'll do questions and answers. I'm just very tired. We had our river cleansing ka weekend there. Negole monate yo negole monate ne ke sa robala ke kentse steering lazy king yo now boroko it's just eating me up. Thank you all for the warm wishes with my son. He got out of hospital. So go to report sheets and this and that it's really busy. And then I'm busy organizing a spiritual seminar. Want to do it in January. So I'm just letting you guys know now. Bankanyang your wallets. It's going to be so much fun. Already I've been having requests from people to do this like from winter already. So I'm going to do it for next year. I'm having a lot of people already making inquiries on tickets and that. So I just want to let you guys know, I'm going to have this spiritual seminar. It's going to be like a day for Prophetic leading Ngaka to sort of experience their gift, right? So it's going to be like church for the Ngaka Leba Prophet. So we're going to be doing a bit of everything, right? You guys are more than welcome to actually sit and add in on what, you guys could add on and let me know, give me suggestions on what you guys want to do on that day. But I think the is nanako because I've got Abangoma coming, Lidi Gupu, I've got Prophet Abadi Pala coming, waiting. It's gonna be lit. So Bonaroshapa it's gonna be busy. Rokita mode, it's gonna be busy. So I'm just letting you guys know I'm going to have a formal poster done very soon for January so that you guys can budget. I know January is a very bad time. You can budget thing on time. It's going to be so good for you guys, for everyone who is spiritual. I think this is going to be beneficial because this is going to just be a platform for all of us just to be, right? So we're going to be doing the pika. You can wear pika look, go all out, bring ishobalako. If you've got your skirt from Epeshweni, come wear it. Stop it. That's it. But I'll give you guys details on that as time goes on. Yeah, let's do questions and answers next week. Kekilifa something in a ling vava vunyana. Today loud work ponchis. Good night.